Welcome back to the Hannahcast YouTube channel, and today it is time to predict the BAFTA Awards nominations. So, the BAFTA nominations are coming up pretty soon in a couple days, and I figured, why not get some predictions in? This is going to be before the Visual Effects Society Awards nominations are out, so I don't know how much that's going to influence the BAFTAs or whatever. But regardless, let's just get started with Best Film. Right now, I honestly think Oppenheimer is just gonna take it here. I mean, it's easily gonna take it here. There might be some people saying it's Poor Things, but if I'm being honest, I think The Zone of Interest is number 2. And the reason why I'm thinking The Zone of Interest is number 2 is because, well, it's British. And granted, the Poor Things is also British, but it's like, this is the UK's, rare chance. I don't know if they've ever done this. This is the UK's rare chance at winning an Oscar for Best International Feature, which is kind of weird considering, a lot of Best Picture nominees at the Oscars are already British, like Poor Things, 1917 and all that. It's just kind of funny like that. I'm wondering why Oppenheimer isn't considered for Best British Film at the BAFTAs, considering Christopher Nolan is at least half British. I don't know if they, like that pure blood, whatever. That doesn't sound right. But regardless, I don't know why Oppenheimer wouldn't qualify here. But regardless, I mean, the fact that The Zone of Interest is going to be is going to win the Oscar for, Best International Feature, and, the BAFTAs kind of have a big ego over themselves, I feel like that would be their number 2. And they've already, long-listed it for a bunch of categories. So I would expect The Zone of Interest to get in. And again, if anything were to beat Oppenheimer at the BAFTAs, I think it would actually be The Zone of Interest. Poor Things, safely in there. Killers of the Flower Moon is safely in there. Admittedly, number 5 was tough because I was trying to figure out if it was going to be The Holdovers or Anatomy of a Fall. I ended up going with The Holdovers because I feel like that movie is creeping up. I feel like The Holdovers is kind of having a moment where it's slightly surging, and it's uh-oh, what's going to happen? Now, granted, Coda didn't make it to Best Film, so that could be The Holdovers' fate. But right now, I don't know. Especially since The Holdovers is much more kind of traditional Oscar bait, and Coda really wasn't. I feel like The Holdovers might just edge out Anatomy of a Fall, but I don't know. Anatomy of a Fall could definitely happen. I was thinking about putting Barbie in the top 5, considering it tied with Oppenheimer and Killers of the Flower Moon for the most BAFTA long list mentions this year with 15. But I don't know. I feel like the hype for Barbie is dying. It surged in nominations for, the Golden Globes and Critics' Choice, but it didn't really perform extraordinarily well at those. Barbie got a few awards that it was expected to win, and granted, it also won makeup and hairstyling, which is kind of strange. But, however, it didn't really win anything, above the line other than Screenplay. And I don't know if that's going to continue anywhere else, because we're not going to know what Writers Guild is going to say until after the Oscars, and the BAFTAs are certainly not going to give the win to Barbie here. If they did, that'd be kind of a shock, but still. But right now, I don't know. I don't think Barbie is going to make it in. All of Us Strangers, Maestro, Past Lives, I don't really think they're going to get in, but, still. Best Director. This is a juried category, so, this is going to be interesting. Christopher Nolan, I think he's going to win this in handbasket. He's going to easily win this. Jonathan Glazer for The Zone of Interest. Again, if there was anyone who was going to steal, it's going to be Jonathan Glazer. But other than that, Marty, he's in easily. Yorgo Lanthimos is easily in. Apparently, watching the Critics' Choice Awards, it's not Yorgos Lanthimos, it's Yorgo Lanthimos, because that's how it's supposed to be. That's how it's supposed to be said when you're Greek. So I guess it is just Yorgo Lanthimos. And then the last 2, I feel like, are going to be Justine Triet for Anatomy of a Fall and Celine Song for Past Lives. I feel like Past Lives, I don't know. Something makes me think it's going to perform a little bit better here than I thought it would initially. Uh, Justine Triet, I think, is going to make people think that, she's going to get nominated for the Oscar, but I don't think she does that. I don't think she's going to get nominated for the Oscar, but considering how much the BAFTAs liked Anatomy of a Fall, and again, juried category, I feel like Justine Triet could get in. And then with Celine Song, again, I feel like it might do slightly better. I don't think Greta Gerwig is going to get nominated for Barbie. Because again, I don't know if that would... I think that might be too out of the taste of the BAFTAs. But yeah. And then... But, I don't know, maybe Alexander Payne gets in. Who knows? And then some of the others, I don't really think any of the other people here are going to be nominated, really. Bradley Cooper for Maestro, Andrew Hay for All of Us Strangers, Emerald Fennell for Saltburn, Cord Jefferson for American Fiction, Sophia Coppola for Priscilla, Molly Manning Walker for How to Have Sex, Rain Allen Miller for Rye Lane, and Charlotte Reagan for Scrapper. I don't even know why I'm really saying all these names. It's like, I don't know. But regardless, I think this might be our 5, although, I don't know. Gerwig could show up, but I don't know if she will. I think this might be... I think the idea that she misses will be this first sign that she's weak, and I think with Celine Song getting in, this might get people to think that she's getting nominated for the Oscar, but again, what did I say? You want to go 4 out of 5 with the DGA, with the Directors Guild, and I don't think... Gerwig is going to make that 5 at the Oscars. Because, again, Jonathan Glazer is so getting in. And I just believe Alexander Payne is going to make it to the Oscars. So, yeah. Best Lead Actress. I still think Lily Gladstone is taking the Oscar. She did just lose at Critics' Choice, but we'll have to see what SAG does. Because I'm thinking we might see a repeat of what happened last year with the lead actress category, as as weird as that sounds. So I think we're going to see Emma Stone win. And number 2 would probably be Sandra Hüller. I think she would probably be number 2 here. And then Lily Gladstone, Carey Mulligan, Vivian Oprah for Rye Lane. I don't know. The movie's British and it appeared in quite a few long lists. So she could make it in. And Greta Lee for Past Lives. I was considering no, but at the same time, I don't know. None of the other options make a whole lot of sense to me. Because, okay, granted, maybe Mia McKenna Bruce for How to Have Sex, but I don't know how popular that film is in Britain. But Annette Bening for Nyad, I knew that she was going to get the Globe and the SAG award. I don't think she's going to make it here. And Fantasia Barrino for The Color Purple, I wanted to entertain that idea, but the fact that the BAFTAs just hated The Color Purple so much to where literally only Fantasia and Danielle Brooks got in the long lists, like, that's not good for The Color Purple. So I don't think she's in. And Margot Robbie, I don't know. I just don't know if she's going to make it into the BAFTAs. So, yeah. Lead actor... Cillian Murphy, I think, is going to take the BAFTA for Oppenheimer. And once again, I think we will see a big race. Like, right now, I can't believe I'm saying this, but Paul Giamatti is number 2 for the Oscar right now, and Bradley Cooper isn't. Now, you're probably wondering, why do I have Bradley Cooper all the way down at number 6? I'll get to that. Actually, I don't even know why I'm getting to that. I could just say it right now. I don't know how well Maestro is going to perform here. I genuinely don't, because Maestro's not doing so well right now. I mean, everyone's kind of dunking on it, and again, considering there's a lot of British films like Saltburn and All of Us Strangers, I think both Barry Keoghan and Andrew Scott are going to make it in, but I don't know. I do think ultimately Bradley Cooper will make it in, but especially since you at least want to go like have a good number of the Oscar nominees in your BAFTA predictions. So I do think Coleman Domingo, Cillian Murphy, Paul Giamatti, and Bradley Cooper are going to make it in. And I don't think Leonardo DiCaprio is going to make it in here. And I think that might send people going, he's not getting nominated for the Oscar. I think he will get nominated for the Oscar. I think that will happen. So, yeah, again, Cillian Murphy, I think he's going to win here. The real test will be SAG. Like, will SAG go for Cillian Murphy or Paul Giamatti? I'm not so sure is gonna be like the lead actor race from last year, because Paul Giamatti does not really give a Brendan Fraser in The Whale kind of performance where like he was like constantly tugging at your heartstrings. And then there was also Brendan Fraser's great narrative, but again, I don't know how much that factors into everything. Paul Giamatti, I think, is just more like, he's a pretty cool guy and he's giving a really good performance, but I don't know if it's actually going to amount to an Oscar win. So I don't think it's going to be like that. I do think Cillian Murphy is probably going to take it. So yeah. Supporting actress. Like a lot of people are probably going to be saying, "Oh, Emily Blunt's going to win the BAFTA for Oppenheimer." Because, they, went so contrarian last year with Kerry Condon and Barry Keoghan. And, they've also done Dev Patel for Lion over Mahershala Ali for Moonlight. But also, it doesn't happen all the time. Sometimes it just does not happen that way. Like, Mahershala Ali still won the Oscar for Green Book. And if I'm not mistaken, Viola Davis still won the BAFTA for Fences. So I don't think Emily Blunt's just going to win here. I mean, she could, but I'm not automatically going to assume that she will, because sometimes the BAFTAs have been, very contrarian. Like sometimes they do just fall in line. So I do think Divine Joy Randolph will win here. Emily Blunt for safety is number 2. I think Sandra Hüller is going to get nominated for The Zone of Interest because, again, The Zone of Interest is going to perform very well here. And considering The Zone of Interest just got nominated at the PGA, which, again, like the fact that the PGA actually went for 2 international films like that shows that there's a lot of passion for this film. Well, for both Anatomy of a Fall and The Zone of Interest. I do think The Zone of Interest is going to get, at least, Sandra Hüller nominated for supporting actress. And I think it might even repeat at the Oscars, to be honest. But then we also have Rosamund Pike and Saltburn, Claire Foy and All of Us Strangers. Admittedly, I don't know how, these could happen, they could not. And the reason why I have Danielle Brooks all the way down at number 6 is I think she just barely makes it in as the lone nominee for The Color Purple, which that might happen at the Oscars as well. I don't think The Color Purple is I don't think The Color Purple is so dead at BAFTA to where Danielle Brooks wouldn't even win lead actress. No, not win. Would not even be nominated for supporting actress. I mean, it would be wild if she actually didn't make it in, but I think she will. Some other possibilities, maybe America Ferrera for Barbie, because they did longlist it in a lot of categories, but I don't know if that's actually happening. Jodie Foster for Nyad, I don't know. She's been getting nominated for, everything so far, but I just don't buy the fact that the idea that she's an Oscar contender here. I think we are being gaslit, and we're made to think that she's going to be a thing, but she's not really going to be a thing, if you know what I mean. Cara Jade Myers for Killers of the Flower Moon. That would be a wild surprise if that actually happened. And Julianne Moore for May December. I don't know. If they couldn't even shortlist Charles Melton, I think May December is going to get goose-egged. Supporting actor. Robert Downey Jr., with his win at Critics' Choice, he has cemented himself as the frontrunner for supporting actor. He's just going to take it. And Mark Ruffalo... Actually, no. Let's talk a little bit more about Robert Downey Jr. Robert Downey Jr. is so the front runner for Best Supporting Actor. No, I don't think anything could stop him. Nothing is going to stop him. And he's not going to be Angela Bassett in Black Panther: Wakanda Forever because, again, Oppenheimer is the front runner for Best Picture. How would he not win? At least with Angela Bassett, you could whittle it down to Black Panther: Wakanda Forever was just never going to be a Best Picture contender. It was just never going to do that, so she was inherently weaker in that category. But Robert Downey Jr., I do think will make it in. Mark Ruffalo for Poor Things, I think he's just safely in. He did get snubbed at SAG, but I don't think that's going to repeat here. And look, I know I keep jumping onto the Dominic Sessa train. This is the last chance. And if this is the last chance for him to get nominated somewhere. And if he doesn't even make it here, he's out of the Oscar conversation. But and again, the thing that makes me think that he's going to get nominated is because it is like The Holdovers is kind of having a moment. It is kind of, I feel like it is slowly surging, and we might finally see him here. I never understood why Dominic Sessa has been missing in all of these award shows. Like, he has to show up somewhere, and because like, when I was watching the movie, I was like, this has got to be an Oscar nomination worthy performance. And the fact that he's been showing up nowhere is kind of insane, but I do think he will make it into the BAFTAs. I just gotta believe that. And then once he makes it to the BAFTAs, I think he will just squeak by in Best Picture at the Oscars. Ryan Gosling for Barbie, I think he's number 2 for the Oscar, but however, at the BAFTAs, again, they might really embrace Barbie, or they might not really care about Barbie all that much. It could literally go either way. It's looking good for Barbie, but we'll have to see, but I do think he will get nominated. And then, once again, I think Saltburn and All of Us Strangers get nominated. I think Paul Mescal for All of Us Strangers gets in, and Jacob Elordi for Saltburn. That would be a lot of nominations for movies that I don't think are getting into Best Film at the BAFTAs. But, yeah. And Robert De Niro, I think this might be where Robert De Niro starts to show some weakness. Because, like, so far, he's gotten everything he needs to get right now. But this is his, again, if he makes it in here, I don't see how he doesn't get in. Because, again, The Killers of the Flower Moon is still very much in Best Picture. One threat that I'm kind of looking into is Anthony Hopkins for One Life. I'm wondering if that actually manifests into something. Because it's interesting how he got a long list mention here. Because, like, the movie premiered at TIFF, and then poof, it, like, never happened again. So we'll have to see. And then Ben Whishaw for Passages, Jamie Bell for All of Us Strangers. I don't know, maybe that happens. Casting. This is interesting. Actually, let me look up something real quick. This is still a relatively new category, so, like, there's only, like, so many years that we can try to figure out what's happening, and even then, it's like, I don't know, maybe. Right now, I'm kind of thinking maybe Killers of the Flower Moon gets in, because one thing that's kind of notable when it comes to the casting category at BAFTA is that they really do like when you're casting, like, historical figures or casting, people authentically and stuff like that. For example, like with Joker on, or at the very least, casting like either popular fictional characters like the Joker, like how do you cast the Joker, or casting, big historical figures like Elvis, or casting a movie authentically like West Side Story, casting kids, and going through, which kids do we put in this movie, like Rocks. Like, it is a lot. Like, there's a lot happening. So, I don't know. It's still kind of a new category. Right now, I'm gonna say Killers of the Flower Moon, because it's not the same thing as SAG Ensemble or Critics' Choice Ensemble. It's not an ensemble award, so it's a bit different. So right now I'm gonna say Killers of the Flower Moon wins this, and then some of the other nominees: Oppenheimer, The Holdovers, Barbie, and then Scrapper, because kids and stuff, like how do you try to cast a kid? And this did make a few BAFTA long lists, so they might really like this movie to some extent. But yeah, admittedly, the other 5 here is admittedly just kind of a guess, like All of Us Strangers, Anatomy of a Fall, How to Have Sex, Maestro, Saltburn. I don't know. Like I said, it is a relatively new category, so we will have to see. Original screenplay is very interesting. It is very interesting because this is pretty much the last screenplay award we are going to have before the Oscars. Like, because the Writers Guild decided to have their ceremony after the Oscars, so that's not really going to help us this year. So, where are we feeling? This could either be Anatomy of a Fall or The Holdovers. It could be one of these two. On one hand, Anatomy of a Fall won the Golden Globe, and The Holdovers is, but on the other hand, The Holdovers is having a big moment. I think it, like I said, it's creeping up. I feel like there's a chance that it's creeping up. If it wins original screenplay at the BAFTAs, then I'm just gonna say I think there's a chance it's winning Best Picture because, Barbie. I don't think Barbie's gonna win here. And Barbie has moved to adapted screenplay at the Oscars, so it will be a battle between The Holdovers and Anatomy of a Fall, and with Divine Joy Randolph being the front runner to win Best Supporting Actress, that does give The Holdovers an advantage. And if it wins screenplay at BAFTA over Anatomy of a Fall, over Barbie, over Past Lives, I feel like that could be a sign that it might take Best Picture. And we know that, the Producers Guild Awards, they go off of a preferential ballot, and how is The Holdovers not going to perform well on a preferential ballot? So, if it takes original screenplay here and wins PGA, it's winning Best Picture at the Oscars. We can't kid ourselves. This could absolutely happen. So yeah, it is kind of a coin flip between Anatomy of a Fall and The Holdovers. We're going to have to see where the vibe for The Holdovers is. If there does seem to be a lot more, online presence for The Holdovers, oh man, this movie's amazing. And it's, made me cry and stuff. I think there could be a path for The Holdovers to ultimately win Best Picture at the Oscars, which, funny enough, as of my last Oscar predictions video with Brother Bro, I did say The Holdovers was number 2, so I might be correct in this. So we'll have to see. I right now have Anatomy of a Fall at number 1, but we will have to see where the vibe is. If Anatomy of a Fall wins original screenplay here, then I think Oppenheimer is just going to win Best Picture at the Oscars, no contest. If The Holdovers wins, then we will have to seriously look at PGA to see what's going on. So yeah, and Past Lives, Maestro, they're in. Although admittedly, there could be a chance for Air to get in. I don't know, because I do feel like Air is going to get nominated for the Oscar, because I don't think May December is going to get that nomination, and. Again, Barbie moved to adapted screenplay, so there's a slot open, so I think it could be Air. But we'll have to see where the BAFTAs lie in terms of Maestro. Adapted screenplay. Oh, wow. This is a big race. Almost a 3... Actually, I would say maybe more of a 2-horse race, to be honest. Because we have Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest. And Killers of the Flower Moon and All of Us Strangers, I think they're in. I don't think American Fiction is going to get nominated because the BAFTAs do not really care that much about American Fiction in general. But Oppenheimer versus Poor Things, this is interesting because none of these films so far have won the televised screenplay awards yet. The Zone of Interest and All of Us Strangers haven't even been nominated for anything. And Killers of the Flower Moon, Poor Things, and Oppenheimer just haven't won. Because of the Golden Globes, screenplay went to Anatomy of a Fall. But at the Critics' Choice Awards, the award went to American Fiction for adapted screenplay. This category is so tough, because this could go so many different directions. Poor Things... you could say that has an advantage here. And it certainly has an advantage. For example, The Favorite won original screenplay here. It won. But also Oppenheimer is the front runner for Best Picture. I'm already predicting Oppenheimer to win 8 other Oscars. And again, I've always said this, it would be very strange for the movie to win 8 other Oscars and adapted screenplay doesn't get added to the pile, if you know what I mean. I don't know if that makes a whole lot of sense. So, I don't know. I think Oppenheimer just might... Actually, how many BAFTAs am I predicting Oppenheimer to win? Wow, I'm predicting Oppenheimer to win 10 BAFTAs. Actually, if I'm predicting this right, I am predicting Oppenheimer to win the most BAFTAs out of any film, with 9. So, no, with 10. Because, like, the previous winner is Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. So, am I really going to say Oppenheimer is breaking the record for the most, BAFTA wins? Maybe? I don't know. We've never seen a movie like Oppenheimer, before. So, we'll have to see. Again, adapted screenplay, I don't know. Because it's winning so many other awards. I just can't imagine screenplay not coming along with it. But again, if Poor Things does win, then we will have an interesting race, because it would officially be between American Fiction and Poor Things, or maybe even Barbie. But I just don't know what to do here, to be honest. Because, what, is Poor Things only going to win screenplay at the Oscars? Adapted screenplay? I mean, Emma Stone could maybe come along with that, but it's screenplay and actress. I don't... See, that's what I'm saying. It's so weird to think about. It's what's going to happen? Where is the vibe going? And again, this is the last screenplay award ceremony we're going to see, the last major one. Because we can't rely on Writers Guild, so we kind of have to go with BAFTA here. This is the last chance for a writer, for something to happen. And right now, I have to kind of go with Oppenheimer. But again, Poor Things maybe. And then again, yeah, Zone of Interest, Killers, All of Us Strangers. Again, I don't think American Fiction is happening, because again, they just did not really like the film all that much. Although I will say, if the Zone of Interest gets adapted screenplay here, and it very well could, I'm wondering if it can get the Oscar nomination for adapted screenplay. But again, the category is so locked in tight that it could either, because any film the Zone of Interest bumps out, because now that Barbie's in adapted screenplay, which I predicted that, if the Zone of Interest gets in the Oscar lineup, something major is going to have to be bumped out. And people are going to go, oh my god. And that could very well happen. I'm kind of preparing for that, but I just don't know which film it would be. Because I want to say it would be American Fiction, but is the movie only... But, I feel like if you're going to nominate American Fiction for Best Picture, you need to nominate it for Screenplay, because I don't know what else it can get nominated for. And I'm still not completely sold on Jeffrey Wright happening. And again, would that even happen if it were, Best Picture with only actor to come along with that? I don't know. So... yeah, we also have Are You There, God's Me, Margaret, Wonka, The Killer, Dumb Money. They're not. Absolutely not happening. Honestly, I feel like I'm very, very confident in adapted screenplay with the BAFTAs here. At least in terms of nominations. Cinematography. Alright, El Conde is not here. As we saw, El Conde got the ASC nomination. But also, at the British Cinematographers Guild, the Zone of Interest did not get nominated. And instead they nominated Saltburn, which is interesting. I still want to say the Zone of Interest gets nominated here. Although because I know a lot of people are calling me crazy for saying that Maestro I think is going to get snubbed at the Oscars in favor of, because again, if we're going with the assumption that the other 4 nominees are Oppenheimer, Zone of Interest, Poor Things, Killers of the Flower Moon. If we're going with the assumption that El Conde is getting in, which I do think, I think Maestro might be vulnerable. Because, and again, if it I do think it's going to be nominated here, because I don't know what else could happen. Unless Saltburn takes cinematography over Maestro, that would be insane. And then I think it would be much easier to say that, alright, yeah, El Conde is taking out Maestro at the Oscars. So we'll have to see. But obviously, this is Oppenheimer's award. It's easily winning this. It's not even a contest. Saltburn, Barbie, Napoleon, the Creator, Ferrari. I don't think that's happening. Yeah, I especially with Barbie, I think the hype for Barbie's kind of dying. Editing. I think, once again, Oppenheimer. But I think we are going to see some surprises. I do think the Zone of Interest and Anatomy of a Fall are going to get nominated. I think they're getting in. Killers of the Flower Moon, I think, is also safely in. I don't think Poor Things makes it to the Oscar lineup because I don't know. I have a sneaking suspicion that something's gonna happen here. Oh yeah, because I did say that I am currently predicting that The Holdovers gets into editing at the Oscars, and that's gonna once again show some strength. But since Holdovers was not longlisted here, which again is not game over for the Holdovers. I mean, there have been movies that got nominated for Oscars that were not longlisted at the BAFTAs. You know, like how what was it? Like how Bardo got nominated for cinematography at the Oscars without being longlisted at BAFTA. So it's not over for the Holdovers in editing. So right now, I do think Poor Things gets in here, even though I do think it just misses the Oscar lineup. Barbie, maybe. Maestro, I don't know. Again, all the others I just don't think are happening. Like Maestro, Mission Impossible, Saltburn, All of Us Strangers. So yeah. Production design. We have, I think, I do think Poor Things takes it here. We are going to see a sort of a repeat of sorts with Black Panther versus Poor Things. No, versus The Favorite. Although I think at least Barbie will get nominated here because it did get into so many long lists. I feel like it would still have to get production design and costume design nominations here at the BAFTAs. But I do think Poor Things ultimately takes the BAFTA for production design. And then others, you know, Oppenheimer, Killers, Zone of Interest. It would be kind of insane if Oppenheimer actually won here. If Oppenheimer won, I'd be like, what? Like, you're already breaking the record. Like slow down. But yeah, Asteroid City, I would love to see it. I don't know if it's going to happen, though. Again, it's going to have to bump out a major thing. And also, I just realized this is the exact Oscar lineup that I have. So, and they rarely do that, so I don't know if this is smart. I don't know if it's a smart thing for me to do. But I just don't know what the alternatives would be. Because again, if something were to beat out these five in a nomination, like one of these five, it would be it would be major. Because I do think the Zone of Interest is going to get in. And so yeah, Asteroid City, I guess, is technically number 6, but again, it's such a locked up category. I just don't know what could get in. Wonka, Napoleon, Ferrari, Maestro, yeah. Costume design. Once again, I do think Poor Things takes it here. I don't think that would sour much on whether or not Barbie's winning the Oscar. I mean, already Barbie won production design and costume design at Critics' Choice, and that's a pretty good stat for the Oscars. So, yeah. But, you know, Killers of the Flower Moon, I do think Wonka gets nominated because it's British and it does have a lot of costumes. So, yeah, and the one thing that kind of holds me back from predicting it for the Oscar is it didn't get into the Costume Designers Guild, which is very strange. Like, of all things, why did it miss the Costume Designers Guild? So, I just don't quite understand that. So, yeah, but I do think it gets in here. Napoleon, I think, might just get nominated for the Oscar at this point, and, you know, I think this might be an example of where it sweeps in terms of nominations. And then Barbie, I think I don't think it's completely Black Panther. I think it will at least get nominated. So, yeah. Oppenheimer, that could happen. Asteroid City, Maestro, Saltburn, Ferrari. Yeah, who knows? But, yeah. Makeup and hair. This is interesting because, ooh, man, what do we do here? Okay, I think Maestro will win. If it doesn't even win here, I'd be shocked because, like, it's been crushing it in terms of nominations. I still don't understand how Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 did not make it to the Critics' Choice Awards nominations, the BAFTA long lists, and the Oscar shortlist for makeup and hairstyling. Like, how? Especially since it crushed nominations at the Makeup and Hairstylist Guild. Like, what were you guys doing? Did you just assume it was going to get in? I don't know. But I do think Maestro's... I would think maybe Maestro's winning here. Because I just can't imagine Maestro just being Elvis. But even then, is Maestro even gonna win Best Special Effects Makeup at the Makeup and Hairstylist Guild? Because I think Guardians 3 could probably win that, but dang it, I just don't know. Ugh. Regardless, Poor Things could win. Right now, I'm still sticking with Maestro. Golda, I think that's happening. Wonka, sure. Admittedly, 5 and 6 is really tough between Oppenheimer and Barbie. One of these two could very well happen. I don't know how much the BAFTAs are going to love Barbie. They are certainly going to fall in love with Oppenheimer. But also, a thing I kind of wanted, I kind of realized, you want to go kind of close with what the Oscars nominate. So yeah, every time the Oscars every time the BAFTA, ever since the Oscars expanded the makeup and hairstyling award to 5 nominees, the BAFTAs have gone with the Oscars 4 out of 5. It's very consistent. So and since Barbie's not even shortlisted at the Oscars, I think maybe Oppenheimer gets nominated here, or maybe it's Ferrari. If Ferrari gets nominated here, then I might say it's getting into the Oscars. So we'll have to see. Yeah. But I do think it's probably going to be Maestro, but I don't know. It depends on how much they just don't care for Maestro. Special visual effects. All right. This is a really tough category. It's really tough because Oppenheimer and Poor Things. Well, for one, Oppenheimer's not even shortlisted at the Oscars, so there's that. Why do I have it winning here? Well, because the BAFTAs have... Look, I'm not gonna lie. The BAFTAs don't really... They've kind of been disappointing me in the visual effects categories in recent years. I mean, they gave Black Panther the win. Like, they nominated Black Panther for only one award at the BAFTAs that year, and it was visual effects. That was the only award it was nominated for, and they gave it the win. Why? I have no clue. That was such a stupid move of them. But yeah. So and then you had them nominating like Everything Everywhere All at Once. Again, that didn't really make any sense to me. The BAFTAs have in recent years have kind of gone with like their favorite movies and visual effects. So this is, and since Oppenheimer is longlisted, I don't know. I think they'll probably just nominate it and it'll just win because and then everyone's just like, it's good. Because again, I've always said this visual effects race is going to be unpredictable. And even if Oppenheimer doesn't get nominated here, which I'm thinking it does, I think Poor Things, even though I don't think it's getting nominated for the Oscar, Poor Things would absolutely be nominated here. And I feel like that would win. Because again, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, they're both in Best Picture or Best Film, I should say, the BAFTAs. So one of them is going to win. And if Oppenheimer gets nominated, it's going to win here. The creator, I think, will solidly be nominated. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is okay. The last two are very interesting. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse and Napoleon. I did watch a visual effects breakdown for Napoleon. Interesting stuff. It was made for $200 million, so I have to kind of consider as to whether or not like it's really all that impressive, considering I've seen movies that have done way more with less of a budget. I mean, like, for example, like All Quiet on the Western Front, that impressed me with its visual effects because the budget was only $20 million. So, like, that was impressive. Napoleon, you could do a lot of that stuff with a $200 million budget. So, I don't know. But with Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, I don't know if this is a good stat to use because it's also a stat that's really old and hasn't really happened in recent years. But that is, the BAFTAs have nominated way more animated movies for Best Visual Effects than the Oscars have. Like, they even nominated movies like Toy Story 3 and Shrek, which, if I'm gonna be honest, doesn't really make any sense to me. I mean, if you ask me, I don't even think those two movies had the best visual effects out of any animated movies that those years. Like with Toy Story 3, I would say The Legend of the Guardians: The Owls of Ga'Hoole deserved a nomination more. Or even below, like right below Legends of the Guardians, I would say maybe Tangled because of the hair and how that like ballooned the budget up to like $260 million or something. The fact that the hair alone was was what made the movie so expensive to make. But I'm not saying I would nominate them, but I would nominate them above Toy Story 3. But again, they nominated Toy Story 3 for Best Visual Effects because they really, really loved Toy Story 3. And then, you have Shrek, which it's like, they nominated Shrek for Best Film at the BAFTAs. Not only Best Film, Eddie Murphy got nominated for Best Supporting Actor for playing Donkey. So, like, that is insane, considering, I don't even think Shrek had the best visual effects out of any animated movie that year, because you had Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within, which was very groundbreaking in its motion capture visual effects, and you also had Monsters, Inc., which Sully was an amazing breakthrough in CGI fur, and yet the BAFTAs chose Shrek over those two? Like, Shrek? So, it's interesting. Does Spider-Verse get in? Well, I'm currently predicting Spider-Verse for the Oscar because it's not a great year for visual effects. The BAFTAs did longlist Pinocchio last year, but again, last year was significantly stronger in the visual effects field. So, I don't know. But again, they haven't nominated an animated movie for best visual effects since Toy Story 3. So I don't know if that's a good stat to use in this situation. But because the playing field is so weak, I must consider that Spider-Verse might get nominated here. And if it does, well then, I think it just has a clean streak to the Oscar, because there's Critics' Choice, the BAFTA, and considering the Visual Effects Society Awards just has like an animated category, it will literally be nominated for everything it could have been nominated for. So yeah, I think that could definitely happen. I think it might actually happen. So, but it's not a guarantee. And Napoleon, I want to say, like, I think it might get in here, and it might actually get the Oscar nomination the more I think about it. Now, why do I not have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3? Well, that is because, I'm not saying this is fair, I don't agree with this, but the BAFTAs have just hated Marvel in the past couple of years. Especially in terms of visual effects. Like, I'm sorry, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness deserved a visual effects nomination. The fact that they got screwed over so much during that season is beyond me. But even then, the Oscars still nominated Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, and the BAFTAs didn't. And then the previous year, with, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, it was, I would say, number 2, like, in terms of, like, not, or at the very least, like, at the Visual Effects Society Awards, it got the second most nominations behind Dune, and yet it still missed the BAFTA. And there is Spider-Man No Way Home, but because Spider-Man No Way Home released too late for the BAFTAs, it wasn't eligible to be nominated for the BAFTAs, so, it wasn't, like, the question is, would it have been nominated anyway? And I don't know. But right now, I don't know, because of how the BAFTAs are with Marvel, I don't think Guardians 3 gets nominated. But I still think it gets the Oscar nomination. I still think it gets the Oscar nomination because in a weak year like 2023 has been for visual effects, how would it not get nominated? Like, that would be insane. And not in a good way. Although at the same time, Wonka could maybe get a nomination over Napoleon. That could definitely happen. It is British, and they do seem to really love Wonka, especially if they're nominating it for adapted screenplay. So maybe that happens. But again, I kind of want to go at bare minimum 3 out of 5 with what I think is going to be nominated for the Oscar. And admittedly, I'm thinking Napoleon might get the Oscar nomination. So yeah. Indiana Jones, Mission Impossible, no. Barbie, no. So yeah, I do think Oppenheimer and Poor Things are going to get into the BAFTAs, but I don't think... I know Oppenheimer's not getting into the Oscars now, but I do think Poor Things is going to be snubbed for the Oscar ultimately. Then we have Best Sound. Once again, Oppenheimer, I think, is just going to take it here. I think it's just going to take it. And then you have The Zone of Interest, Ferrari, Killers of the Flower Moon, and I think Napoleon gets a nomination here over Maestro. I think they're gonna like Napoleon quite a bit, and it's gonna get a sound nomination. Then you have, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. That's interesting because Mission Impossible Fallout did get a nomination for sound at the BAFTAs. But Dead Reckoning Part 1 isn't really doing all that well. At least in terms of, people don't really care about it all that much. Barbie, it did get the sound mixing guild and stuff, but I don't think so. I don't think it's happening here. Poor Things and Wonka. So yeah, I don't think that's happening. Original score. This is interesting. Okay, once again, Oppenheimer, it's gonna win. And then you have Poor Things and Killers of the Flower Moon. I think this will be the place where we start to see that John Williams is gonna get nominated for the Oscar. Now, one could say The Fabelmans was not even longlisted at BAFTA. So, and it's John Williams, so why are you assuming he gets nominated here? I think that was mainly because they just hated The Fabelmans to no degree. Like, they really, really hated The Fabelmans as a whole, to where they didn't even nominate, they did not even longlist Steven Spielberg for Best Director. So, I think that was more of a Fabelmans hatred thing than, them being cold on John Williams as a whole. And I think maybe Spider-Verse gets in here, because I don't really see any other alternatives, because The Boy and the Heron is not nominated, was not longlisted, and apparently the Zone of Interest was ineligible for Best Score at the BAFTAs for some reason. So I don't know what's happening with that. I don't know what's going on with the Zone of Interest. So I just don't know what else could get in. Like Wonka, Barbie, Napoleon, Saltburn, American Fiction. I don't know. So I'm kind of forced to just go with Spider-Verse again, but I don't know. I still have a sneaking suspicion it's going to be vulnerable at the Oscars. Because again, if they couldn't even nominate Alexandre Desplat for Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, why would they go for Spider-Verse? So, I don't know. I kind of fear for Spider-Verse. But I do think this is where we will start to see John Williams show himself in the original score category. And if this happens, you have to predict him for the Oscar. You have to at that point. Animated film. They only have 4 nominees here, so we will have to see what they are. But I think they will be The Boy and the Heron, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, Nimona and Chicken Run, Dawn of the Nugget. However, I don't know. I have a feeling that The Boy and the Heron is going to beat Spider-Verse here. Because it did beat Spider-Verse at the Globes. And I don't know. I have a feeling The Boy and the Heron is just going to appeal to more international voters than Spider-Verse. I think Spider-Verse is going to do fine here in America. But admittedly, internationally, they seem to really like The Boy and the Heron. Although at the same time, you could argue Spider-Verse did get longlisted for more categories than The Boy and the Heron. That is true, but I don't know. Well, that's the thing. It is tough. So right now, I'm gonna say The Boy and the Heron wins, but Spider-Verse easily could take it. Now, the last 2 slots are admittedly very hard, because Elemental just did not get nominated at the Annies for Best Animated Feature. And I think you have to seriously, and I've been saying this since May, that Elemental is going to get snubbed for the Oscar. I think it's just going to get snubbed. Because it's just, the pattern, I've seen this pattern before, it's not, it is one of Pixar's weakest reviewed animated, films, and that's not a good sign. Again, Good Dinosaur, Monsters University, Cars 3, and granted, it's not Pixar, but it's still Disney. Frozen 2 got everything, including the BAFTA, and still got snubbed. So I think even if Elemental got in here, I would still say it gets snubbed because it's just inherently not safe. And plus, with the animated film category here, the BAFTAs always play it safe. They never go for something like Suzume or The Sea Beast, or they usually just pick some of the most popular animated films. I do think Nimona gets nominated here because it did get the most nominations at the Annie Awards, which was kind of a shock. But I don't know. And then that fifth slot is really tough between Chicken Run and Ninja Turtles. Admittedly, the BAFTAs really, really love Chicken Run. They love Aardman. They love Aardman animation. So it's hard to imagine that they would not go for Chicken Run here. And if that happens, would they still go for would the Oscars still go for Chicken Run if it gets nominated at the BAFTAs? Because that is an interesting thing to think about. And I don't know. It's really tough. Because if Chicken Run does get nominated here, that means I think there are 3 films potentially above Elemental. Because there would be Suzume, Robot Dreams, which that could sneak its way in to that 5th slot. Who knows? And then you also have Chicken Run, which gets nominated for the BAFTA. I want to see Ninja Turtles happen, but I don't know. I don't know if the BAFTAs are going to be cool enough to do that. But regardless, I am expecting Elemental to miss here because there's in a list of 5, it would probably get in. Maybe then again, I'm not predicting it to get in, so I don't know. But a list of 4 where you have 2 easy frontrunners, the film that got nominated for the most Annie Awards, and a British comedy from a studio that the British people really, really love. Admittedly, I feel like it's just these are inherently stronger than Elemental. And again, who knows? Ninja Turtles could maybe make it in here. And if it does, and Elemental still is out, then I think you really have to say Elemental is weak. It's just it might not happen. And then Super Mario Brothers, what in the world is happening up there? I don't know. But yeah, Super Mario Brothers movie and Wish, those are just jokes. That's a joke. Film not in the English language is very interesting. I think we're going to see The Zone of Interest, and I think it's going to win here because again, it's a British movie, and how is it not going to win here? Anatomy of a Fall. I think Past Lives will get nominated here because overall, this is almost my Oscar lineup. This is actually no, Anatomy of a Fall is not going to get nominated for the Oscar. I just remembered that. So, yeah, I think Past Lives gets in. I think this is where we will start to see 20 Days in Mariupol get in because Perfect Days is not longlisted here. Perfect Days is not in here. And I think this could allow something like 20 Days in Mariupol to actually get in. Because I've been saying, I don't know why people aren't even considering this. Because before the shortlists came out at the Oscars, I saw this on Next Best Picture, which granted, I don't know how much updated it is now, but before, it was almost right before I did my prediction video with Brother Bro. Only one person had 20 Days in Mariupol in their top 10. Only one person. Actually, let me check where it is now. And now it's jumped to a little bit more than half, but even then, only 1, 2, what was it? So far, only 2, only 3 people have it in the top 5. So, I guess maybe people are starting to warm up to the fact that 20 Days in Mariupol is actually a possibility. Because I've been saying, I don't know why it wouldn't get nominated for international feature at the Oscars. And I think this might be the place where it shows up and people go, oh my god, is it actually going to be a thing? And then I've been saying, it is a thing. I've been saying it's a thing for a while. And despite the fact that Society of the Snow performed so badly in the BAFTA shortlists compared to the Oscar shortlists, to a shocking degree, if I'm being honest, I do think it still gets a nomination here. But then again, I don't know. Maybe The Taste of Things does. Teacher's Lounge, Fallen Leaves. I really do want to say The Boy and the Heron, but I just don't think that's a realistic bet to make. I don't think they're going to actually do that. And then The Eight Mountains, I don't even know what that is. So, documentary. All right. Admittedly, this is where my knowledge is starting to become a little bit more fuzzy because I'm not sure what's happening. Beyond Utopia, 20 Days in Mariupol. I mean, they're the two frontrunners easily. So yeah. Deepest Breath, maybe. I think maybe that happens. John, like, cause like it. From what I understand, it is a British movie and it does have David Attenborough, so there's that. High and Low, John Galliano. Sure. And The Pigeon Tunnel. Admittedly, the last three picks I had because they were British, but I don't know if they're really happening at the Oscars because I don't know. Still a Michael J. Fox movie. I still don't think it's getting nominated for the Oscar, and I think this might be the place where it stops getting nominated. American Symphony. I just don't think they're going. Admittedly, the BAFTA long list is interesting because they don't have a lot of things at the Oscars shortlisted. So I'm kind of forced to go with some of the one like with some of these, and it's like I don't know, because again I don't. We'll just have to see. And then this is the final category because admittedly I know nothing about short films, so I couldn't tell you anything about those. Outstanding British film and the nominee, and I think The Zone of Interest is easily winning this, or maybe not easily winning this. I shouldn't say that, but I will say The Zone of Interest. Maybe people might be saying, "Oh yeah, it's going to be Poor Things that wins," but I think ultimately The Zone of Interest, like, pulls out a surprise win. It's like, oh my god, this movie is powerful. This movie is powerful. And then All of Us Strangers and Saltburn because they were long listed for best film, and that would be really weird for them to do that and not nominate them here. Wonka, sure. Chicken Run, sure. Napoleon, it's getting nominated for a lot of tech categories, so I'm going to say maybe yes. And then the last three, I'm kind of going with How to Have Sex, Rye Lane, and Scrapper because they did get a few long list mentions, so I'm kind of going with them here. So yeah, and guys, those are my BAFTA predictions. Now I'm going to pass the question off to you. What do you think of my BAFTA predictions? What are your BAFTA predictions? Let me know what they are in the comments below, and consider hitting that subscribe button, because if you don't, you're going to turn British.